Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Michael Thompson always believed he knew his wife Rebecca better than anyone in the world. For 15 years of marriage, she had been his constant companion, the devoted mother of their two kids, 13-year-old Emma and 10-year-old Tyler, and the woman who made him laugh even on the hardest days. They worked together in the domestic harmony they'd carefully built, him as a software engineer and her as an elementary school teacher. Their lives followed a comfortable, predictable routine, until small details started to shift in almost unnoticeable ways. Rebecca began coming home later, always with reasonable explanations about school meetings running long or extra activities with her students. Her phone, which used to sit casually on the table during dinner, now stayed constantly in her hands or face down whenever she had to set it down. Michael noticed she'd started taking longer showers, wearing new perfumes he didn't recognize, and her clothes seemed to have gotten a bit more stylish, more carefully chosen. When he brought it up, Rebecca would smile and say she was just trying to take better care of herself, that she realized she'd let herself go over the years while focusing entirely on the family. Conversations between them, which used to flow naturally about everything from the kids' problems to their own dreams and fears, began to feel shallow. Rebecca gave short answers to his questions, her gaze often distant, as if her mind were somewhere else. During family meals, she constantly checked her phone, saying she was replying to messages from students' parents or coordinating school activities. Michael tried not to overthink these changes, convincing himself it might just be a phase, maybe work stress or the natural pressures of family life. He'd gone through periods where he felt disconnected too, absorbed in big projects at the office, so he tried to give Rebecca the benefit of the doubt. Still, an uncomfortable feeling grew in his chest, a hunch he couldn't completely shake. It was like watching his wife slowly turn into a stranger, keeping up familiar appearances but losing something essential that had always connected them. The kids seemed to notice too, especially Emma, who asked more than once if their mom was okay, saying she seemed different, more distant. Physical intimacy between them, which had never been an issue in their marriage, began to decline gradually. Rebecca always found excuses to avoid romantic moments, blaming fatigue, headaches, or simply turning away in bed when Michael tried to get close. When it did happen, it felt mechanical, lacking the passion and emotional connection that had always defined their relationship. Michael started questioning himself, wondering if he'd done something to push her away, if maybe he'd become complacent or uninteresting over the years. He tried being more attentive, surprising her with flowers, suggesting romantic outings, but Rebecca accepted these gestures with a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. It was as if she were playing the role of a loving wife without actually being emotionally present. Nights out with friends became more frequent, and Michael noticed she never mentioned details about these outings when she came back, unlike before when she'd usually share funny stories about their conversations. When he asked how her night had been, she'd give vague, general answers, quickly changing the subject or saying she was too tired to talk. One night, while Rebecca was in the shower, her phone, left on the dresser, started vibrating insistently. Michael, with no intention of invading her privacy, noticed several messages coming in one after another. The name on the screen was Alex, and the few words he caught in the message previews left him puzzled. It wasn't a name he recognized from Rebecca's circle of friends or co-workers she usually mentioned. When Rebecca came out of the bathroom and he casually mentioned that someone named Alex had sent several messages, she quickly grabbed the phone, her expression briefly surprised before she tried to hide it, explaining it was a new teacher at school asking for advice on lesson planning. The explanation sounded plausible, but something about Rebecca's reaction bothered him. She'd visibly tensed up for a moment, and her answer seemed too rehearsed. Michael tried to push the thoughts away, scolding himself for becoming suspicious of his own wife, but the seed of doubt had been planted. In the following weeks, he started paying closer attention to Rebecca's behavior, not intrusively, but with a heightened awareness he couldn't switch off. The situation reached a breaking point one Saturday afternoon when Michael came home early from a tennis match that got cancelled due to rain. As he walked in, he heard Rebecca talking on the phone in her office, her voice filled with a tenderness and intimacy he hadn't heard in months. She was softly laughing, whispering words he couldn't fully make out, but the tone was unmistakably romantic. Michael's heart pounded as he stood frozen in the hallway, fighting the urge to confront her immediately or just walk away. When Rebecca noticed he was there, she abruptly ended the call, claiming she'd been talking to her sister about marital problems her sister-in-law was going through. The explanation felt weak, especially since Rebecca's sister lived in another country and they rarely spoke that often. Michael felt like the ground was shifting beneath him, but he managed to keep up a facade of normalcy, casually discussing weekend plans while his mind raced with possibilities he didn't want to face. That night, after Rebecca fell asleep, Michael lay awake staring at the ceiling, his mind filled with fragments of conversations, odd gestures, and behavioral changes that now seemed to form a disturbing pattern. He remembered how Rebecca had started exercising regularly after years of inactivity, how she'd bought new clothes without mentioning them, how she'd begun styling her hair differently. Individually, these changes could be explained as a woman taking better care of herself, but together, they started painting a picture he didn't want to accept. Michael was a rational man, used to solving problems through logical analysis and concrete evidence, but this situation forced him into emotional waters he didn't know how to navigate. He didn't want to become a controlling, suspicious husband, but he also couldn't ignore the signs that were becoming increasingly obvious. The idea that Rebecca might be having an affair felt simultaneously unbelievable and terribly plausible, and he struggled with both feelings as he tried to decide what to do next. The chance for more clarity came the following week when Rebecca announced she'd have to stay late at school for an important pedagogical council meeting. Michael, who would normally accept this explanation without question, decided to check discreetly. He called the school near the end of the workday, pretending he needed to speak with Rebecca about something urgent regarding the kids. The secretary told him there was no meeting scheduled that night and that Rebecca had left at the usual time. Michael's blood ran cold as he politely thanked her and hung up. Now he was certain Rebecca was lying, but he still didn't know about what, or with whom. He considered confronting her immediately but realized he needed more information before accusing his wife of infidelity based only on suspicions and a lie about her whereabouts. The rational part of his mind argued there could be an innocent explanation, maybe she was planning a surprise for him or dealing with a personal issue she wasn't ready to share. Yet his gut told him the truth was far simpler and more painful than he wanted to admit. Michael decided he needed concrete proof before any confrontation. One night, when Rebecca left saying she had a meeting at school, he decided to follow her discreetly. He drove a few blocks behind her car until she parked in front of a residential building in a neighborhood he didn't even know. There was nothing resembling a school. His heart raced. He stayed in his car, watching from a distance. Rebecca got out, entered a code into the electronic gate, and walked in as if she belonged there. Michael stayed put, counting the minutes. 10 passed quickly. 15 felt like forever. By 20 minutes, the anguish was unbearable. He picked up his phone and called. "Where are you?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm at school, in a meeting with the teachers," she answered without hesitation. Michael narrowed his eyes, staring at the building in front of him. "Then can you come outside? I'm in the parking lot, waiting for you." Silence. "I can't go out, the meeting's not over," she tried. He didn't back down. "If you don't come out now, I'll go in. It's urgent." Another heavy silence. Then, defeated, she whispered, "Okay, give me a few minutes." Michael hung up, got out of the car, and walked firmly to her vehicle, parked beside the gate. He leaned against the hood, motionless, waiting. Each second felt like a crushing weight. His eyes stayed locked on the building's front door. A few minutes later, Rebecca appeared. She was fixing her hair and looking at her phone, unaware of what awaited her. But when she looked up and saw Michael standing by her car, she froze. Her body locked up, her face lost color, and the phone nearly slipped from her hand. "So this is the school?" he said, his voice low, laced with irony. Rebecca couldn't answer. She glanced around as if searching for an escape, but there was none. He was right there, staring at her with eyes that mixed pain and anger. I waited. I called. And you still had the nerve to lie to me again. Saying you were in a meeting, here. Michael pointed at the building behind her. Tell me the truth now, Rebecca. Who's up there? She trembled, leaning against the car as if her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Tears welled up, and her voice cracked. Michael. I didn't want it to be like this. I'm with someone else. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Michael stood frozen, but he didn't yell. He just looked at her with a silence that felt crueler than any scream. Rebecca then confessed, sobbing, that she'd been seeing Alex Richardson for months, a substitute teacher she'd met at school. She said it started with just talking, that he made her feel alive, but it turned physical, secret, dangerous. Michael listened to it all, standing still, as if he no longer recognized the woman in front of him. The marriage he thought he knew was unraveling in real time, right outside a building that had now become a symbol of betrayal. Michael didn't argue there. He just said, firm and quiet. We'll continue this conversation at home. She nodded in silence. Each got into their own car and drove back. The trip was short and endless at the same time. At home, Michael dropped his keys on the console and pointed to the sofa. Sit down. Rebecca obeyed, shoulders slumped. He stood there a moment, taking a deep breath, as if searching for one last reserve of calm. You're making a choice right now, he said, looking straight at her. I won't live in uncertainty while you decide between me and another man. Our kids deserve stability. And I deserve a wife who chooses me without hesitation. It's not that simple, she tried, her voice breaking. There are layers, feelings. I need time to properly end things with Alex. Time? Michael bit the word. You had months of time while lying to me and calling betrayal at school meeting. The deadline ended the moment you entered that building's code. He turned away, went to the bedroom, opened the trunk, and pulled out a hard-shell suitcase. He began folding Rebecca's clothes with painful efficiency. Socks, sweaters, her blue cotton pajamas. With each item, a knot in his stomach. Rebecca followed, trembling. Please, Michael. We can get help, go to couples therapy. I'll end it with Alex. Give me a chance. He stopped, held her gaze. Trust is broken. I might forgive one day. But trust? I don't know if I can. And right now, I can't. The argument spilled into the kitchen, a back and forth of pleas and refusals. The noise woke the kids. Emma appeared first, in her oversized sweatshirt, hair in a messy bun. Tyler came right after, rubbing his eyes. They found their mom crying, a suitcase by the counter, and their dad with a rigid face trying not to fall apart. Michael knelt to meet them at eye level. Your mom and I are going through serious problems, he explained slowly. Sometimes adults make choices that hurt the people they love. For a while, we'll live in separate homes. But we love you both just as much. This isn't your fault. Emma, sharp and direct, stared at her mom. Did you cheat on Dad? Silence filled the kitchen. Rebecca closed her eyes, tears spilling over. I made mistakes. I did terrible things. I need to fix what I can. Tyler started crying, not understanding everything but understanding enough. The house wasn't the same anymore. Michael picked up the suitcase, walked Rebecca to the door. You'll talk to them every day, he said, softer now. But right now, we need space to process. Forgive me, give me a chance to fix this, she pleaded, hand on the doorknob, voice nearly a whisper. Forgiveness might come with time. Trust, maybe never. And trust is what holds everything together. He watched her get in the car and drive away, probably to the same address she'd earlier sworn was the school. The emptiness left behind was a strange mix of relief, pain, and determination. In the days that followed, Michael contacted a lawyer and started divorce proceedings. He organized the routine like someone rebuilding shelter after a storm: schedules, meals, school, chores. He explained to the kids, without blaming their mom, that separation was the safest decision for everyone. Emma, at first, turned her hurt into anger, but slowly came to understand that adult life is full of contradictions. Tyler needed more time, and therapy, to name what he felt. Rebecca tried to come back. She sent letters, called, showed up at odd hours. Michael kept the door open for co-parenting but closed to reconciliation. "My decision was made the day the truth showed up in that parking lot," he'd say, firm but respectful. Months later, with the divorce finalized, things settled. Custody agreements, calendars, back and forths found a rhythm. Rebecca stayed with Alex Richardson, but the kids noticed a sadness that didn't match the feeling alive she said she had. What had been exciting in secrecy lost its shine once it became routine and responsibility. Michael, meanwhile, rediscovered himself. He learned to cook each kid's favorite meals, resumed running around the neighborhood, started reading again at night when the house was quiet. He didn't harbor hate, but he didn't feed illusions either. What was broken didn't have to be carried as an eternal burden, but could be left in the past with a clear lesson: honesty and self-respect matter more than any marriage facade. Life moved forward, different from what they'd planned, but solid in what mattered: clear boundaries, present love for Emma and Tyler, and the certainty that when the truth finally shows up at the door, or in a parking lot, the hardest choice is usually the right one. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.